Welcome, beautiful, to the Creating Change podcast with Emma Bradford. Creating change to fall back in love with ourselves and life. Each episode, I'll be offering insightful stories, concepts, and practical takeaways to inspire your day, reconnecting to the authentic essence within. Are you ready, lovely, to embrace yourself even more and awaken to the magic life has to offer? Let's dive into today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Creating Change with Emma Bradford. Thank you for joining me today. It's so wonderful to have you here. And today I want to talk about a very big topic. Let's see if I can condense it down into a bite-sized episode. And the topic is all about emotions and, yes, how we can find gifts within emotions and what specific gifts we can uncover through specific emotions. So first of all, what are emotions? Emotions, what are they? Things that we feel, like sometimes it can feel like they come out of nowhere. Suddenly we feel angry, irritated, or sad, or fearful about something, or joyful. There are many different expressions of these energy in motion, emotion. If you look at how it's spelled in English, emotion, energy in motion. And essentially that's what they are. They're energy moving through us. And this is the thing, like sometimes we're caught up in just the material world, the physical, tangible world, and we forget that there's so much more. There's this whole non-physical side of human life, this life experience that we're in. Everything is made up of vibrating particles in space, and there's this energy running through everything. That includes our thoughts, that includes the emotions that we feel. Everything is made up of this. And even if we don't see it, we see the result of that energy in motion. We see perhaps the angry expression on someone's face or the tears running down their face, either after they've been laughing and feeling really joyful, or if they're feeling sad. We see the result of that energy in motion through the physiology, through the physical body. And just because we don't see the motion itself doesn't mean it's not an energy. Everything is made up of energy. Now, why do we have emotions? Why do we have them? There are so many different emotions out there, all these different expressions of this energy and motion. Like sometimes they can feel really joyful and light and happy, and we feel like we're on top of the world. And then other times these emotions can feel really heavy, dark, painful. So when we're in the deep depths of a breakup or experiencing grief or feeling absolutely terrified in the middle of a panic attack. So if anyone's listened to episode 4 about my journey with anxiety, I talk about how I experience panic attacks, and that's when you're in this extreme state of fear, and it can feel very frightening, very challenging. So there are all these different expressions of emotions and all these different types of emotions that we feel. They're all the same thing, they're energy and motion, yet we experience them differently because of the level of vibration that they hold. And also according to our beliefs about them. Our beliefs about them really affect how we experience emotions. So for example, if I believe that feeling angry is bad, or I believe that being sad or experiencing sadness is bad, it's wrong, or people don't like it. If I have that belief, whether that's conscious or unconscious, if ever that emotion arises, which it will, if we're human beings, these emotions will arise time to time. That's completely normal and natural part of life. I might not fully allow that energy and motion to flow through me. I might suppress it. I might avoid it. I might want to run away from it, not acknowledge it. I might shut it down, hide it, not express it. And this can create some consequences. This can create some challenges. If we're not fully acknowledging how we feel and we're shutting everything down and avoiding it, then it can build up within. And that in turn can lead to other symptoms and other experiences. For example, prolonged anxiety or panic attacks. That was one of the reasons why I was experiencing panic attacks in the past, because I wasn't acknowledging how I was feeling. And everything was just building up like a pressure cooker. And I've seen this with many clients also, that this is something that's very common. Or it can also result in physical symptoms. Different parts of the body are known to be connected to different emotions according to traditional Chinese medicine. This is something I studied many years ago, and it's really fascinating to see that. And I've seen that through my own personal experience and also with other people and loved ones and clients. When there are certain emotions that are held onto or not expressed, sometimes that can result in a headache or different symptoms. It can build up. So this is not to say that every physical symptom is only something emotional. Some people would argue that yes, that is the case. Though I just encourage you to, if there is anything physical, obviously see your healthcare practitioner. That's important. And also just be mindful about, okay, what's going on here? Is there some emotional conflict behind this? So if people wanted to explore that further, there are many other modalities out there that talk about this through NGM or Meta Health, bioscodificación, if you're based in Spain. There are many different avenues that you can explore this further, the emotional conflicts and understanding that, like how the body talks to us through symptoms and how there's an emotional conflict behind that. So essentially, emotions are messengers. They're giving a message. They're talking to us. It's like they're knocking on the door and saying, hello, I'm here. I have a message for you. And it's up to us whether we walk through that door or we keep it shut. If we keep it shut, we might miss the actual message there. We prevent that emotion from flowing through our system, and then in turn it remains stuck. We don't release it. I like to see emotions as doors. We can open that up or we can keep it shut. So for example, the emotion of anger, if we close that door and we don't acknowledge the gifts of anger, it can build up in resentment within ourselves. It can come out as different physical symptoms, or we just feel like a pressure cooker of all this anger and irritation, and we just spew that out onto everyone else and just multiply that energy further into the world. Not really something that we want to have spreading in the world at the moment. There's enough going on. So it's really wonderful how we can find the message and allow that energy emotion to transform and transmute through us, through some form of creative expression, constructive creative expression. So when we find the gifts of anger, when we creatively express that in a constructive way, we're able to connect to stronger boundaries, greater self-esteem, creativity. We're able to create something important. There are many wonderful projects and charities and non-profits out there in the world for many important causes that on some level have been created when someone has felt a level of anger, irritation, or unjust about a particular area, and they've decided, right, something needs to be done, and I'm going to create a non-profit and help create change in the world. That's an example of someone using anger in a constructive way, or setting boundaries and creating distance with toxic relationships, or perhaps someone who's being abusive, or someone who's not being respectful. Through that anger that we feel when a boundary is being crossed, we can set limits, and connect to our self-esteem. There are gifts of sadness too. If anyone's seen the film Inside Out, you will have seen how the emotion of sadness comforts that pink elephant in that moment of grief and sadness. And it's actually sadness that creates connection in that moment and helps to transform and release that emotion that's moving through the elephant. So sadness can help us connect to a greater sense of connection, understanding. When we move through it, it can also help us connect to a sense of relaxation and relief. How do you feel after you've had a really good cry? Like after you've just let everything out and just cried. Often afterwards, there's this sense of release, relaxation that comes only when we allow ourselves to release that emotion and allow that emotion to flow through us, not bottle it up and hide it. And when we move through fear, when we feel fear and we step forward anyway, connecting to some form of loving action, we're able to connect with courage. We're able to connect with courage. Courage is not an absence of fear. Courage is actually fear in loving action. So I feel the fear and I'm going to do it anyway. This is something I did many, many years ago, especially, in many occasions I have, but specifically in one occasion where I did a fire walk and we had to walk across hot coals barefoot, about 2 meters worth of hot coals barefoot. And it was something that I really wanted to do, yet I was terrified. And through going through the process, building up our state, really believing that I could do it, and stepping forward and walking across those hot coals, I connected to that courage. I took that feeling of nervousness and then transformed it and really believed that I could do it and step forward and move through that. And it was quite a powerful experience going through that. And then afterwards, you're like, wow, I didn't even burn my feet. This is amazing. The power of the mind. It's incredible. Or going skydiving for the first time many years ago. I did that also. And that's a moment where I felt the fear. I did it anyway. I took loving action in order to overcome my fear of heights. And that was quite an experience also. So next time you feel a particular emotion, just get curious. Ask yourself, I wonder, what's this emotion wanting to communicate to me? What's the message there? And how can I constructively express this? Can I dance? Can I paint? Can I write? Can I sing? Can I communicate with someone? How can I express that constructively? In that way, we're allowing the emotion to be transformed, to flow, to continue its movement, rather than bottling it up and hiding it and suppressing it, because that doesn't do any favors for ourselves and it doesn't do any favors for other people. So get curious, and I love to hear what gifts you uncover of particular emotional states. All emotions are valid. There's no such thing as good and bad emotions. Every emotion is part of a wholehearted, wonderful life. A happy life can include tears sometimes. That's absolutely normal and okay. It's all part of the expression and experience of this human life that we're in. If no one felt any emotions the whole world, we wouldn't have any art, we wouldn't have any poetry, we wouldn't have songs to enjoy, music. We wouldn't have all these creations that have been made through human beings feeling emotions. So get curious, explore, and I love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you have someone who is experiencing a challenging time about emotions, do send this podcast along to them. I'm wishing you lots of love. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, beautiful. You're amazing. All resources and links can be found on my website, www.emmabradford.net. Link is in the show description. Do come and join my community and share your takeaways from this episode. I'd really love to hear. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I wonder, what magic will you experience in life today?